Mainly cloudy right now. Temperature at the airport's 43 degrees. Low 40s in Kelso and Salem, 37 over in Bend. Everybody's above freezing because of cloudiness at this hour. Burns 37, Baker City 39. Futurecast, here we are. This is correct, by the way. It means that the modeling has a good handle on what's actually happening right now. At 8 o'clock, it shows that rain down around the Salem area. By noon, boom, it's gone. It fizzles, it drops to the south, and just like that in the valley, we get clearing skies to take hold. Valley forecast numbers with the afternoon sun and the northeast winds coming will warm up to about 60 or 62. Similar situation up in the southwest Washington. A reminder, around the Columbia River, 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts look to be possible. Overall, it's a cool day in our state. Go out east to John Day, where it's only going to be 48 degrees projected at 4 p.m. this afternoon. There's a lingering chance of some shower activity across parts of eastern Oregon, also in southern Oregon, and then areas south of Eugene. In the valley, we clear out, and the coast will clear out. Here's the 7-day forecast. 61 today with afternoon sun and east winds coming. If you don't get the east wind, if you're blocked by east wind, you'll be in the 30s the next couple of nights. We're going to have chilly nights. We stay dry into Thursday. We have some rain coming Thursday overnight into Friday. A second system bringing us some rain on Sunday. And that is your forecast. Here is Chris McGinnis.
Rod, thanks for that. Let's take it to Washington County in the Beaverton area. Actually, we've got a crash now in southwest Farmington near Menlo. And right now it looks like traffic is starting to back up pretty significantly on eastbound Farmington around that. So just be aware of that as you make your way out the door. Also in Marion County, north of I-5. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Possibly a crash. North of the Chemawa area. And right now our speed sensors show there's about a 2-mile stretch of freeway that's moving along at about 6 miles an hour. So a slow drive on that stretch of I-5. Back up high, of course, Rod talked about the snow in the Cascade Passes. This is live in Government Camp. Just be aware there's a little slush up there this morning. The rest of our drive, not bad, but it is building. Here's a quick check of the sunset. Your inbound Highway 26 commute, 26 minutes to get you in from Hillsborough to downtown. China?
Thank you, Chris. Legacy Good Samaritan is celebrating a huge milestone this year. Coming up, how the hospital has changed in the last 150 years.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
I apologize in advance if you're waking up seeing this and thinking, did I wake up in December? No, we're not at the holiday season just yet, but we do need to get the call out right now to have people join us for this year's Great Toy Drive. Now is the time to sign up to be a collection site this year. Very easy to do. Just hop online, go to kgw.com/toy, and when you sign up, we will send you the official KGW Great Toy Drive Collection Kit.
Last week, Legacy Good Samaritan Medical Center held a ceremony in honor of the hospital's 150th anniversary. The event featured the mayor declaring October 9, 2025 as a day to recognize the hospital's contributions to Portland. We heard from workers who shared the personal connections that they have with the hospital.
I started working here in 2008 and often came out to this healing garden to take my breaks. And one day I was sitting on a bench out here and noticed that the placard said Helen Todd, 1885 to 1995. And that is actually my great-grandmother. So I did not know that she had a placard and a bench here, but she also was a resident at the Bishop Morris nursing facility that's connected with Legacy Good Sam. So it feels very much like a special connection.
The hospital started with 50 beds and 5 staff members, and today there's 220 beds with more than 2,000 staff treating thousands each year. Coming up at 8, Taylor Swift makes another big announcement. What her new docuseries coming to Disney Plus will focus on, and the guest stars that could appear. But first,
I felt completely deflated.
Local business owners talk about the possibility of National Guard troops deploying to Portland and the impact that could have on their businesses. We're going to have that story for you coming up in the 8 o'clock hour of Sunrise.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We are coming up on 7:59 on your Monday morning drive. I want to take you back down to Marion County. Here's a snapshot from tripcheck.com. That's ODOT's website. This is at Perkins Road. They've got the camera spun around to the south. It looks like there's maybe a traffic stop or a fender bender or something there in the median, and you can see the northbound commute now is really backed up. We've got about 2 miles of traffic that's puttering along through the Chemawa area, so plan on some extra time there. The rest of our freeway drive, we've got the normal slow spots, but nothing way out of whack. Right now, you're tripping from Hillsborough, averaging about 25 minutes. Rod?
All right, Chris, thanks for that. By the way, some snow over Cascade Passes, but those temperatures up at Government Camp are above freezing at this hour. It's just kind of slushy wet. Here in the valley,
Michael?
what we talked about earlier this morning has happened. Rain from the Cascades has bounced back to the west into the Salem area. Looks like Portland's rain chance is over. We should be dry moving forward. We're at 43. We will see clearing skies During the day, we will see east winds develop and we'll get up to about 60.
If our city is so war-torn, how can we go out and dress like this and then ride out in our streets feeling safe and feeling community, you know?
Sunday's cold weather didn't stop these people from participating in what they called an emergency naked bike ride. It was a form of protest against the possibility of the National Guard coming to Portland. A look back at a busy weekend of protests coming up. Plus,
this is not only the end of a war, this is the end of an age of terror and death.
We have the highlights from the Mariners' big win, but we'll have more details on Trump's conversation in Israel.
we have highlights as well of your Broadway bridge closure, if you will. The Broadway bridge closing down for 6 months. We'll have a live report on detours on the way.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us live at 8 o'clock. I'm China Green.
And I'm Drew Carney. Where's Chris McGinnis? Where's Rod Hill? There they are, talking weather and traffic to start this hour of the show.
Hey, good morning. Raining still for some of us, others not. Here's the big picture. And if you look, you can see a circulation counterclockwise around the big low that brought us the rain yesterday, the rain last night, and still producing some rainy areas across our two states. But the low and the rain with it will be dropping to the south, and here on the west side of our state, during the AM hours between now and before noon, we will become all dry. I think the rain chance has ended for Portland, but you can see the light rain still falling in Salem. McMinnville, you're right on the northern edge. Canby, it looks like you have now dried out. Timberline, have you heard? 12 inches now on the ground reported. Also at Meadows, down to 5,000 feet. Pass levels are okay. Roadways are mostly wet up there with improving conditions expected during the day. Still clouds over the city from the Wells Fargo camera. We're at 43 degrees. Clearing skies taking hold as we march through the day. East winds will be developing, and we'll get up to about 60 for a high. Here is Chris McGinnis.
Rod, thank you for that. I want to get you back to Marion County. Looks like we've got a crash on I-5 northbound, not far from Perkins Road. ODOT's got this camera swung around pointing to the south, so the headlights here represent that northbound slowing. If you've been watching us the last little while, well, for starters, thank you. And also know that the backup here has actually gotten a little bit better. So maybe a sign of some better improving conditions there. All right, back to your freeway drive locally in the metro area. I-5 through North Portland, slow and steady up near Lombard. There's your Highway 26 drive. Riding the brake, of course, coming down the hill from the zoo. We're 25 or 26 minutes right now to get you in from Brookwood Parkway. A reminder for anyone that uses TriMet to get to the airport all week long. The red line is disrupted. They're using shuttle buses to serve stops between Gateway and PDX as they do some track work on the east side. So know that that'll add some time to your commute. And be prepared to join the thousands of others that are detouring around that. We're talking about the 6-month closure of the Broadway Bridge. Devin Haskins is live in North Portland with more. Devin?
Yeah, good morning, Chris. The morning commute well underway right now as we're just getting started in that 8 o'clock hour, and the signs for the bridge closure have been up for a couple of hours now. They started closing it off just after midnight, and as you said, it'll be closed for the next 6 months. This project lasting until April, part of a $28 million project to replace the deck surface of the bridge. That's the part of the bridge that you drive on. It was installed 20 years ago. The county says it's lived its life and it needs to go and needs to be replaced. And during that time, a small section of the deck will be replaced at a time to keep the bridge balanced and open to river traffic. It'll be closed off to all vehicles, buses, and the Portland streetcar till April. Although one of the sidewalks will stay open for most of the time for people walking or biking across, but you just won't be able to drive across or commute across. If you take the streetcar across, that will detour across the Tillicum crossing, and TriMet's bus line 17 will detour to the Steel Bridge, one of the many options to get across the bridge during, again, this 6-month closure, which the county says will last until about mid-April. Back to you.
Devin, thank you. All right, this is what the South Portland ICE facility looked like earlier this morning. No one in sight. Portland police say they didn't make any arrests last night at or near the ICE facility.
There were more protests over the weekend, though, in response to the possible deployment of the National Guard to Portland and the ongoing work of ICE in the city. The weekend protest included what was described as an emergency world naked bike ride. Here's KGW's John Adams with more.
Music, costumes, and more outside the ice facility in Portland on Sunday as people came out to make their voices heard.
Love brings more love. Hate brings more hate. We're here to bring the love.
River Montijo is an organizer with the Portland Raging Grannies, a social justice group that supports immigrant and racial justice.
We came down here to sing peacefully, to show ICE and the federal government that we are not rioting, we are not being dangerous, we're just speaking our mind.
Also in attendance, a local brass band dressed as bananas.
What's going on over here at the ICE building is clearly not terrorism, right? I mean, anybody can see this.
Band leader Miles Thompson explains the reasoning behind the costumes.
I think that helps us fight this kind of fascist narrative of everything's burning down and we need to bring in the military.
We also spoke with Holly Brown, who was pulled into the facility and detained during a protest 1 week ago after crossing onto the facility's property.
And I'm out here to show them that we're not afraid and we're going to keep coming out until we get this building shut down and we get ICE out of Portland.
Rain showers didn't stop participants in an emergency World Naked bike ride from passing by the facility. Organizers say the ride is meant to push back on the possible militarization of Portland. John Adams, KGW News.
And meantime, we're continuing to wait for a ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on whether President Donald Trump is allowed to deploy National Guard troops to Portland. And across the country, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that members of the National Guard in Illinois can now remain federalized but cannot be deployed in the state while the appeals process continues to play out.
Staying the part about nationalization, but not staying the TRO as it relates to deployment is sort of the middle ground. If they were to stay the TRO completely, then that means the troops could be deployed right away.
This comes after district judges in Portland and Chicago both issued temporary restraining orders blocking the federalization and deployment of National Guard troops.
Oregon and Washington are part of a group of states joining Illinois in its legal battle to stop the National Guard's deployment to Chicago. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield and Washington Attorney General Nick Brown, along with nearly 24 other AGs around the country, filed a brief in the Seventh Court of Appeals arguing that the Trump administration's deployment of National Guard members to Chicago is against the law. Stay with KGW for the latest updates surrounding Portland's ICE facility and the National Guard. You can look for the latest at KGW.com and right here on our free streaming TV app, KGW+.
A former Westland doctor turned himself in to the Clackamas County Jail after a grand jury indicted him on sex abuse charges. During his first court appearance last week, David Farley pleaded not guilty. Multiple women have accused Farley for years of unwanted sexual contact during what should have been routine doctor exams. The judge set Farley's bail at $500,000.
Oregon State fired head football coach Trent Bray on Sunday, less than 24 hours after the Beavers' latest loss. This has been a season full of losses and no wins to this point. OSU 0-7, their worst start to a season since 1991. The school is going to pay Bray about $4 million in buyout money, paid exclusively by donor-generated funds. Meanwhile, assistant coach Rob Akey will serve as interim head coach for the rest of the season, while OSU says a national search for a permanent replacement is underway. We mentioned there a moment ago, Rod, that Trent Bray is going to receive $4 million in buyout money. Yeah. Did you hear about James Franklin over the weekend, Penn State's coach?
I did, yeah.
$49 million.
You know what's crazy for us little people in the world, speaking for all three of us? If we lose our jobs, you don't have a stack of money. You're in trouble. Yeah. Right? People that make so much money that they could quit their job tomorrow and never have to work the rest of their lives. They're the ones that get these big cash payouts. Right. I know it's in their contracts, but it's crazy.
Yeah, no, for sure.
All right, here's a look at radar. We've got rain in Salem. This is still making its way off to the west. It really looks like this is the northern edge of what's left of rain chances, meaning Portland, for the most part, I think is now going to be dry. And there's Canby. Had some rain last hour, but it looks like you are now drying out too with the rain off to your south. Some live cameras. Wind is blowing up at Timberline. That is snow. That is 12 inches of snow. I need to update this. 12 inches of snow, 16 mile per hour winds gusting to 30 I'm wondering if that's the east wind that's now starting to kick up on the mountain. The camera lens is a little dirty, but this sure is pretty. That's the Innit Otter Crest down Lincoln County with partly cloudy skies. All of the coastal cameras now show some clearing taking place. For Portland, we will see clearing skies before noon today. East winds will start blowing before noon today. Gusting along the Columbia at 30 to 40 miles per hour. With the sun coming, we'll warm up to about 60 degrees. Right now, it's still mostly cloudy out there overall, and we're still chilly. 44 downtown Portland, 41 in Oregon City, Sherwood, and Hillsboro. Salem with light rain in the area, 43 is your temperature. Later today, it's all dry, coast and valley. Rain chances linger across parts of eastern Oregon and maybe central Oregon and south Eugene. But look at the temps. Only 40s in central Oregon today and maybe only upper 40s in John Day. So cool batch of air overall. We will get up, I think, with the sun coming to about 60 or 61. Then we'll be clear the next couple of days. The headline on this graphic is that if you live in a spot where you do not get east winds, you will likely be in the 30s the next couple of nights. So chilly nights coming up, Chris.
Yeah, for sure that's chilly, Rod. All right, a reminder, of course, we talked about the Broadway Bridge closure. We've been talking about it a lot. Just for kicks here, I went and checked in with the county, the state, and the city of Portland in terms of bridge traffic counts. So the Broadway Bridge hosts about 19,000 drivers a day, right? The Fremont Bridge, obviously 120,000. That's one of the busiest bridges in town. But just realize that the Fremont, the Steel, if those are part of your normal commutes, those 20,000 cars got to go elsewhere. So your drive is likely to be impacted here over the next 6 months, while the Broadway Bridge remains closed. All right, here's a quick look up on the mountain, Highway 26. Rod mentioned the snow there. You can see a little bit of slush on Highway 26 in the passes, but otherwise we're getting along okay there. There's I-5 through North Portland. That southbound commute's pretty busy coming in from Lombard. And at last check, Interstate 84, the Banfield, 23 minutes now to get you in from Troutdale to the I-5 split. Drew?
Thanks, Chris.
How would you describe what the streets look like right now?
They're starting to get a little precarious.
A powerful nor'easter delivers torrential rain, flooding, and damaging winds. Coming up here on Sunrise, a look at the impact across much of the East Coast. And later,
President Trump is in the Middle East addressing the Israeli legislature and there for the return of the last living hostages from Hamas captivity in Gaza. I'm Alice Barr in Washington with the very latest on this developing story coming up.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news, live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news, live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
A powerful nor'easter is climbing up the East Coast after slamming into South Carolina.
New Jersey residents are preparing for a dangerous mix of weather conditions today. NBC's Sam Brock has the details.
Overnight, a nasty nor'easter hammering the Northeast. Millions from South Carolina to Maine waking up to soaked streets, prompting police to barricade some roads in Margate City. A combination of the intense storm fueling downpours and the high tide pushing floodwaters into coastal communities like Atlantic City, New Jersey.
We knew it was going to rain, but we didn't know it was going to be like this.
Local officials across all of New Jersey and parts of New York issuing emergency declarations due to the extremely hazardous conditions. How would you describe what the streets look like right now?
They're starting to get a little precarious.
And the same storm causing chaos in the Carolinas, water rushing into streets and highways in the Outer Banks, and the deluge dumping more than 10 inches in Georgetown, South Carolina. As aerials show the inundation of the Tidewater area of Virginia with floodwaters everywhere. The nor'easter still battering New England, bringing rain and high winds from Connecticut to Cape Cod, including 50-mile-an-hour gusts. Those difficult conditions also causing serious issues at airports across the East Coast, with more than 5,000 delays Sunday.
That is the bridge.
While out west, the remnants of tropical storms still being felt as muddy waters tore through streets in Arizona and a possible funnel cloud spotted near Tucson. In Colorado, a levee broke, forcing more than a dozen high water rescues, all of it part of a severe stretch of weather sparing few sections of the country.
Again, that was Sam Brock reporting for us. Meanwhile, you have your own set of local weather headlines.
Yeah, we start with kind of a cold weather watch advisory map. And, you know, we're getting into mid-October, aren't we? Would freezing temperatures be surprising? No, they would not. Would they be chilly? Yes, they would. All right. So in blue, frost advisory. This includes a good chunk of Cowlitz County, in fact, all of Cowlitz County, basically, and then parts of the Coast Range. Freeze warnings and the other blue colors out east. The white is the winter weather advisory for Cascade snow, which will be lifted at 11 a.m. this morning. It looks like measurable snow has already ended up on Mount Hood. But back to the frost advisory here on the west side. This is up for tonight into Tuesday morning, and again, I would think going into Wednesday morning. But here's the catch. We will be clear, but we'll also have east winds. You don't get down to freezing typically when you have an east wind unless you're just in a super cold Arctic air mass. So this is showing, and this is surprising because right now we don't really have much of any wind, but this shows 11:30 this morning. East winds are starting to gust rapidly along the Columbia River, gusting to 30 miles per hour plus, with east winds just like that becoming the dominant direction all the way off the coast. So here's the deal. If you live in a spot where you don't get the east wind, that's me. I'm blocked by the east wind. I don't get it. I expect my house will easily be into the 30s tonight. How far down into the 30s? Makes sense. At least 35, 36 would be some of the cold spots in the morning. So if you have something you don't want to be outdoors, you don't want it left unprotected with those types of temperatures, you want to bring it in or cover it up tonight. All right, satellite, there's what's left of the low that dumped our half of an inch of rain on average, coast and valley overnight last night and also, of course, yesterday. This rain in the valley, the rainy area is going to continue to slide to the south, and eventually folks in Salem will dry out. It looks like Portland has already dried out. Here's Timberline with that report of 12 inches of snow on the ground. First sizable snow dump, if you will, up at the Mount Hood Resorts, 5,000 feet and higher. So far this season, 27 at the lodge. Pretty shot this morning of some varying clouds and some breaks in them from the springs of the waterfront in Vancouver. 43 is the number. Other temperatures, cool morning. Nobody's freezing because of cloudiness. 37 Bend, 37 Burns. Futurecast, I just want to show you, here's the rain. This is correct. Radar shows this. A little bit of rain around Salem. Later this morning, that's gone. And not only does the rain clear out, but the sky's clear. So a sunny afternoon's coming with east winds developing and temperatures getting up to the low 60s. Similar situation in southwest Washington. The gusts along the Columbia River eventually 30 to 40 miles per hour. 7-day forecast. Sunshine is coming today, 61. Clear the next couple of days. The cold nights, the east winds will fade on Wednesday. Thursday, clouds over, some rain Thursday night and Friday morning. Another system brings some rain into Sunday. None of these rainmakers will be the great big system that we had yesterday that's produced all of the headlines that I just took you through this morning. Here's Chris.
Rod, thanks for that. Let's take you to the east side of Vancouver, I-205 northbound. We've got a crash near Patton Parkway right now that is really backing up the northbound 205 commute here. Again, from about SR 500 to Patton Parkway, traffic is squeezing by on the shoulder at this point. This is a live camera, and if you look down below, you can see that northbound 205 right now is really crawling through that section of freeway. We'll keep you posted on that for sure. Also a reminder for anyone that rides TriMet to PDX. TriMet's doing some track work on the east side. And so they're going to be using shuttle buses all week long to serve red line stops, max red line stops between Gateway and PDX. So obviously that's going to add some time if that's part of your morning commute this week to and from PDX on the red line. Just be prepared for that.
Thank you, Chris.
After so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace.
Hostages are finally returning to their families after President Trump's ceasefire plan between Israel and Hamas takes full effect. We'll bring you the latest coming up in just 2 minutes.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
After more than 2 years, Israeli hostages held by Hamas are back with their families in Israel, and the first phase of President Donald Trump's peace plan is underway.
Palestinian health authorities estimate the death toll in the Gaza Strip since the war started is in the tens of thousands. President Trump addressed Israel's parliament earlier this morning, and he's scheduled to fly to Egypt today. Here's NBC's Alice Barr with more.
This morning, the first images of Israeli hostages held for 2 years in darkness and deprivation in Gaza, finally back in the light, transferred by the Red Cross to be reunited with their waiting families. In Tel Aviv's Hostage Square, Israelis cheering the moment they have prayed and protested for and chanting, "Thank you, Trump," as President Trump addressed the Knesset, Israel's legislature, celebrating the peace deal he brokered.
Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change.
He earlier declared the war is over, in contrast to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu warning the military campaign is not over. Israel and Hamas have so far agreed to phase 1, the exchange of hostages for Palestinian prisoners while the fighting pauses. Israeli forces pull back to new lines within Gaza, and desperately needed aid flows in. But thornier questions remain about Hamas disarming and leaving power, and how to govern and rebuild Gaza as Palestinians flood back to whatever remains of their homes. For now, though, an emotional release and rejoicing. This hostage family seeing their loved one first by phone, as President Trump met with some hostage families before a peace ceremony in Egypt, marking a major diplomatic achievement and long-sought relief after 2 years of devastating war. Some 200 heads of state joining today's peace summit in Egypt, including Arab leaders critical to the negotiations and to helping rebuild. President Trump again promoting his proposal for an international board of peace that would oversee reconstruction in Gaza. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Now to your morning rush. Today, all federal offices, including federal courts, will be closed, including essential government offices that have remained open during the government shutdown due to Columbus Day, also referred to as Indigenous Peoples Day. The Senate is also in recess until Friday the 17th. Meantime, on Friday, over 1,000 employees at the Department of Health and Human Services were sent layoff notices. The Smithsonian and the National Zoo in D.C. are shutting their doors as they run out of public funding amid the government shutdown. Despite the closure, the animals at the zoo will continue to be fed and cared for. And President Trump says he plans to implement a new 100% tariff on imports from China. The Chinese Commerce Ministry responding in a statement saying, quote, "We do not want a tariff war, but we are not afraid of one." Those new tariffs are set to go into effect on November 1st. And that's a look at your morning rush.
It looks like part of the uncaged cycles and the Felton's heating and air collapse.
Wild, wild weather from Longview. Strong winds ripped the roof right off that building, tossed it into the street. We're going to have more details on this for you coming up in our next half hour. Plus,
I felt completely deflated.
Local businesses preparing for the possibility of the National Guard deploying to Portland. More owner reaction at 8:30. Before we head to break, a live look outside from the coast. Our Chinook Winds Casino Resort Skycam. Really pretty start to the day there. A little more cloudy as we come into the valley. Rod Hill with all your forecast details, including quite a bit of snow that fell on the mountain over the weekend. Again, Rod's report coming up.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
Issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Good morning, I'm China Green. Oregon and Washington are among several states joining Illinois in its legal battle to stop the National Guard's deployment to Chicago. Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield and Washington Attorney General Nick Brown, along with nearly 24 other AGs around the country, filed a brief in the 7th Court of Appeals arguing that the deployment of the National Guard members to Chicago is against the law. Headed over to Rod Hill now for a look at weather.
Well, as a forecaster, I'm really happy that we haven't canceled the chance of rain yet, because there's Salem and then solid rain from Salem all the way down toward Eugene. I do believe that the northern part of this is the northern edge of rain chances, meaning the chance of rain for Portland has likely come to an end. We do have mostly cloudy skies over the city, and we are at 44. Everybody will be clearing as we go into the noon hour, including you folks down in Marion County. Portland will be 53. Later today, all sunny, just like that. East winds will be gusting just like that, and we'll get up to about 60 degrees. Couple of clear sky days Tuesday and Wednesday. Next rain chance comes in Thursday night into Friday morning.
Run game. Polanco chops it right side and through, and Jorge Polanco has delivered again. 3-1 Seattle.
And the Mariners had a good weekend. They are 3 wins away now from their first ever trip to the World Series. They won Game 1 of the American League Championship Series last night, beating the Blue Jays in Toronto 3-1. And it was pretty awesome when you consider the Blue Jays got to rest up for a few days while the Mariners had to fight through a 15-inning elimination game against Detroit on Friday night. Game 2 of the ALCS between the M's and Blue Jays is at 2 o'clock this afternoon. What do you say to those Mariners, China Green?
Good morning. The one game went to 15 innings.
It was almost 5 hours long on Friday night.
Almost 2 games.
I was in Las Vegas out with my girls at the time, and they had the screen on. And so I was watching it, and I kept hanging out with my friends, and then look back, and I'm like, another inning, okay. And we continued to talk, and another inning, and then it went to 15. And then when they won, I was like, yeah, and nobody else was.
Well, no one else cared?
No.
I mean, it was a big deal. If they lost Friday night, the season was done. It was over. It's all over. But instead, it's still alive, and they had a great win yesterday.
Yeah.
So we'll see
So
what happens.
excited.
And they just have to make sure the Jays don't win 4 games, right? How tough can that be?
Easy.
Piece of cake.
Yeah.
All right, here's a look at our satellite radar. We have the circulation kind of up and around. From the low that brought us what was about a half of an inch of rain overnight and yesterday and overnight, coast and valley totals. Notice from Portland up to Seattle, it's all dry. And in fact, you get increasing sun. I think Portland's done with the rain. You folks obviously still getting some rain down here in Salem, but this rain area is dropping to the south. So during the morning hours, you will also become dry with your rain chance ending, and you will also see some clearing skies as you go into the noon hour. Well, we have white Timberline Lodge cameras. This one looking to the south. You can see some breezes up there. That's 12 inches of snow on the ground. Downtown Portland, mostly cloudy, but some breaks. And there's the flag. That looks to me like that flag is northeast, meaning the wind is coming from the northeast. We expect gusty east winds to pick up during the morning hours. That will bring the clearing. We'll get up to about 60. I mean, it's going to be sunny this afternoon. Maybe hard to picture that right now. Overall, this is still a cool day. There could be some lingering showers out east today. Temperatures here only about 50 degrees for highs, only in the 40s in central Oregon today. Bend 47 with a lingering shower chance. The snow accumulation up on Mount Hood has ended, and clearing skies expected up over Mount Hood today as well. A lot of our coastal cameras already showing some sun. So here's Portland's 7-day. Clearing skies coming, gusty east winds coming today, 61. Overnight tonight, I have Portland in the 40s with breezy east winds, highs in the 60s of clear skies tomorrow Wednesday. But if you don't get the east wind, you will absolutely see your lows drop into the 30s overnight tonight and again Wednesday morning. That's your update for now. Here's Chris.
The over-under on how soon Rod says frost on the pumpkin. All right, let's go ahead and pick it up. On the east side of Vancouver, got some trouble right now near Paddon Parkway. This is I-205 northbound traffic is moving real slow because of an earlier crash near Paddon Parkway. So the drive is backed up a little bit towards SR 500. Watch out moving that camera around. You can see we have got quite a bit of a lineup there on that northbound drive. All right, elsewhere on our freeway system here, door number 2 takes us to the I-5 commute. That's slow and steady through North Portland. And you're driving from Hillsborough. Has actually gotten better in the last few minutes, about 22 minutes now to get you in from Brookwood Parkway to downtown. China, we've been talking about this all morning. A reminder that the Broadway Bridge is closed today for 6 months. I know we've got more on that coming up in just a few minutes.
Yeah, we do, Chris. Thank you. All right, this is what the south of Portland ice facility looked like earlier this morning. There was no one there. Portland police say that they didn't make any arrests last night at or near the ice facility.
We're still waiting for the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to rule on whether or not President Trump can deploy the National Guard here to Portland. KGW's John Adams has more on local businesses preparing for that possibility.
At Woonwinkle on Southwest Washington, owner Kristen Van Buskirk finally saw 2025 as the year her business would finally stabilize after the COVID-19 pandemic. Then came the announcement from the Trump administration that National Guard troops would be deployed to the city.
I felt completely deflated.
Van Buskirk fears troops on the streets of the Rose City could be the latest blow to businesses that have fought back after the pandemic. She has already reduced her workforce from 10 employees to just 2.
We've worked really hard to come back from that, and the whole city has worked really hard to come back from that. So to hear that the National Guard might be coming was just, it was a blow. It was completely deflating.
But other business owners are seeing an opportunity in the media coverage Portland has received. Thomas Gatley, co-founder of Lone Fur Fitness in Southeast, says people are seeing videos online countering President Trump's view of the city.
My family back in the UK, certainly friends around the country, are like, oh, Portland looks amazing, like it's sunny and beautiful. Like, so yeah, I think it's working out pretty well for the city.
Gatley says that his customers have expressed disappointment that the Rose City has been painted in a negative light by some politicians.
It's more just a sense of frustration, really. They're like, hey, people trying to tell us what our city's like when it's clearly nothing connected to reality.
While back on the west side, Van Buskirk points to Guard deployment harming local businesses in the nation's capital.
I look to what happened in Washington, D.C. They had measurable declines in their foot traffic and restaurant reservations, and I would expect it to happen the same way here.
John Adams, KGW News.
Meanwhile, life flights to OHSU were on hold Saturday because of a flyer that reportedly called on people to shine lasers at police helicopters flying above the ICE facility. So instead of life flighting patients directly to OHSU, helicopters had to land at nearby airports, and then ambulances transported patients to the hospital. OHSU says that process could add up to an hour to patient transport time. OHSU also said its helicopter vendors were choosing to avoid the airspace near the ICE facility. It wasn't the hospital's call. Portland police want to remind people that pointing lasers at planes or helicopters is against both state and federal law. Stay with KGW for the latest surrounding Portland's ICE facility and the National Guard's possible deployment to the city. We'll bring you updates on KGW.com, on the KGW mobile app, and right here on KGW+.
We now know the identity of a woman who was found dead in her car with a gunshot wound in northwest Portland. Portland police have identified the victim as 39-year-old Crystal Pendergraph. Just after 5 o'clock Saturday evening, officers were called to a welfare check on a woman on Northwest Kearney Street and 22nd Avenue. That's where they found Pendergraph and pronounced her dead at the scene. Police are asking anyone with information to reach out.
Police are also investigating a shooting in northeast Portland near Killingsworth Street. Investigators taped off a section of Northeast 24th to keep people away from a car that was riddled with bullet holes. Police say officers responded to the area right around 3:30 early Sunday morning. They also say the victim went to the hospital by themselves with non-life-threatening injuries, and they are expected to survive. All right, major traffic alert for you this morning involving the drive around downtown Portland.
Starting today, the Broadway Bridge will be closed for the next 6 months. Devin Haskins has more on how you'll be affected.
The closure is part of a $28 million project to replace the deck surface. That's the part that you drive on. With more than 19,000 cars that drive across this bridge every day, the county says it's time for it to be replaced. It was installed 20 years ago and it's lived its life. This closure will have a big impact on traffic here in Portland. It'll be closed off to all vehicles, buses, and the Portland streetcar till April. One of the sidewalks will stay open most of the time for people walking or biking across. And on top of the usual commute traffic, don't forget big events still happening at the Moda Center or the Coliseum will also mean other crossings will be much busier. Now, if you take TriMet or the streetcar across, those are being detoured. The streetcar will detour across Tillicum Crossing, and TriMet's bus line 17 will detour across the Steel Bridge. Again, one of those many crossings that you can use to get across, but just keep in mind, those crossings will also be very busy with all those other cars trying to get around the Broadway Bridge. This bridge will remain closed until about mid-April. In North Portland, I'm Devin Haskins, KGW News.
All right, we are headed over to the traffic master to kind of walk us through what this all means for us drivers.
Okay, so you've got 19,000 cars and trucks a day that use the Broadway Bridge, right? I ran some numbers on some of Portland's other bridges, and they're busy, right? If you drive during rush hour, you know this, right? The Fremont Bridge at last check carries nearly 120,000 vehicles. The Steel Bridge, which by the way is only 2 lanes, carries 13,000 cars and trucks per day. So do the math here. These 19,000 cars and trucks are probably going to head to the Fremont or the Steel as a first or second option. And to Devin's point about events at the Rose Quarter, the first one tonight will be a big test for how folks get around that. All right, getting around the here and now, we take you to the east side of Vancouver. Here's the crash that we've been watching on I-205 northbound. This is near Patton Parkway. It looks like one lane is slowly trickling by in the left lane, so northbound traffic is backed up about a mile to SR 500 to get around that. So that's one big trouble spot. The rest of Freeway Drive, guys, that's not in too bad a shape this morning. We've been relatively light for our Monday morning traffic volumes on this Monday morning holiday. Back to you.
All right, Chris, I know you can appreciate this video, right? We've been looking at it all morning long. Wild weather video from Longview where strong winds ripped that roof right off the building, tossed it into the street. We're going to have more details on yesterday's storm right after the break. But first, an exclusive shopping deal for our viewers.
Hey, you know our team tests tons of products. We get rid of the rejects, only bring you the best. And this one, pay attention. This is super important today. This is the product right here. It's Halt. It's a firefighting spray foam. Did you know there are 358,000 house fires in the U.S. every year? 50% of them in the kitchen. And this is prime time. We're getting into the holiday season. Chance of fire goes way up. So we're about to start a fire in here to show you how this product works. Because think about it. If there were a fire in your house right now, do you know where your fire extinguisher is? Be honest, I bet you don't. And by the way, even when you find it, it's huge, it's bulky. Have you ever used it? You gotta pull the pin when seconds matter. So this thing, look how much smaller it is, right? This is like a can of Spam. Keep it right in the kitchen. I'm gonna start a fire here and show you how it works. Okay, so there we go, it's going. All you do is you pop this little cap off here and you spray it and boom, look at that. Gets the fire right. This works on grease fires. They say it works on any kind of fire. Some fire departments are even using this in their tanker trucks now. Safe for kids, safe for pets, non-toxic. Also, by the way, they have a fire blanket.
It's great for grills, even protecting yourself.
They have a passport protector, a document protector. Today, you can get up to 37% off. We got you that discount because this is so important. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to shoptvdeals.com.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
All right, check out this video from Longview showing what the National Weather Service was a microburst straight line winds. They said that's likely what it was. It ripped off the roof of that building and sent it into the street.
A meteorologist with the Weather Service estimated that winds were between 80 and 85 miles an hour at the time. Here's KGW's Jay Coulter with more.
It looks like part of the uncaged cycles and the Felton's heating and air collapsed.
Dramatic security camera footage of wind ripping the roof off Felton's heating and air and blowing it onto uncaged cycles and into the street.
In through that upper roof over there is a big old hole, probably, I don't know, at least a 10 by 10, if not bigger. And it's just got where a beam and everything went down through it.
Looked over to my right and the roof was flying that way. It flew on top of the uncaged cycle shop over there.
Disbelief at the damage done in such a short time, but National Weather Service meteorologist Tanya Francine says this can be the time of year for this type of weather.
Now, it's October and we tend to get a lot of these little convective storms that come through, and some tend to be stronger than others. Today we found damage that was consistent with 80 to 85 mile an hour winds.
Uncaged Cycles owner Leah Holmes recalling the moment the winds hit.
We heard what we thought was thunder. And so I came up front of the shop to just look outside and see what was going on. And I saw a 15-foot beam kind of hanging off the side of our front facade there. And then I looked down the street and saw roofing material. And I thought, oh my gosh, what is going on? So I came outside and I saw all this debris on top of my building.
Unfortunately, Holmes also lives in the Uncaged Cycles building, and the second floor took the brunt of the damage with a beam coming through the roof.
It was devastating because that is our living area. So now we're kind of figuring out what we're going to do tonight and where we're going to lay our heads down.
But Holmes grateful to her neighbors and other folks who helped clean up Sunday. 2 other buildings had some light roof damage, but thankfully no one was injured.
It was not really definitive that it was tornadic, but wind is wind. If it's damaging, somebody's impacted. It doesn't matter if it's straight or if it's spinning. So either way, there was impacts and businesses that are going to have to kind of recover from this.
Jake Holter, KGW News.
I'll tell you, Rod, as this story was developing yesterday afternoon, my sons were with me, and I thought I could sound intelligent. So I shared with them something that I learned from you. I honestly didn't know this until I started working with Rod, and I said to them, I said, you know, sons, it's not considered a tornado unless it actually touches down on the ground. And he's like, my one son was like, yeah, no kidding, it's a funnel cloud unless it does that. So they already knew what I didn't know for years and years and years.
Great job, Dad.
Yeah. So I just walked out of the room.
That's a swing and a miss, isn't it, China?
Yeah.
But yes, we're still wondering, we're still finding out, still trying to figure out if it was in fact a tornado.
I think so. They did their damage survey up there last evening, and I'm going to say that I'm speculating here that radar imagery did not back up there being a tornado, and they didn't find a pattern consistent with the turning and twisting of tornadic winds. What they did find was some roof damage from high winds, and I think they're saying it's most likely what you say, a microburst straight line winds, which basically mean there was a heavy rain cell in the area. It sent some winds shooting down. Those winds hit the ground, and then they fan out like this, and that's why they call it straight line winds. 80 to 85 mile per hour winds, that'll knock your roof off, as we saw. Nobody was hurt. That was good news. There was also a funnel cloud in the same 3 o'clock hour down in the La Cinta area, as is often the case with funnel clouds. No wind reports at the ground, nothing. So that was good news. Why is Rod wearing a coat? Because I had hoped to be up on the KGW weather deck, so I went up there, but the sun glare is getting bad because Portland's starting to see some clearing. But it's chilly, and I haven't warmed my body up yet, so I'm keeping my coat on. All right. No, that's what's going on. Yeah, I need a hug. Winter weather advisory on the map in white will expire at 11 o'clock this morning as the snow wraps up in the Cascades. The snow is already over for Mount Hood with 12 inches on the ground at 5,000 feet. That's Meadows Base, that's Timberline. Wow. Now, what I really wanted to show you is the blue frost advisory. This is overnight tonight. This includes much of Cowlitz County. Freeze warning overnight tonight, and we'll see those same frost and freeze warnings reissued, I believe, for Wednesday morning. More on that in a second. Right now, the rain chances ended for Portland. We are partly cloudy. Here is the lingering rain in Salem. This is going to continue to drop to the south and break up, so you folks will become dry, and you will start to see clearing skies between now and noon. Here's that new snow up at Timberline. It looks like there are some flurries, but in terms of measurable snow, that has ended up there. 28 degrees. I'm assuming this is the east wind direction that is now kicking up, gusting to 34 miles per hour. Yeah, that is east wind. I can tell because this is the direction. So that's east winds that have ignited, blowing that snow around up at Timberline. That's the wind that will quickly start to work itself down through the gorge and out into East Multnomah County this morning as well. Absolutely, what a contrast, huh? The coast is clear. That's Schnickwiz Casino Resort in Lincoln City. And Portland, there's the sun glare. That's why I'm not up on the roof right now, on the weather deck, 44 degrees with partly cloudy skies. We have 37 over in Bend this morning. So the forecast for today, the rain in Salem, that's going to drop out of your area in the coming hours. You will be sunny this afternoon with east breezes and highs up to about 61. The gust along the Columbia River this afternoon will be 30 to 40 miles per hour from the east, clearing skies already partly cloudy up across much of southwest Washington. We'll be clear the next 2 days. Freezing nights, let me rephrase. Temperatures dropping into the 30s Tuesday and Wednesday morning if you live in a spot where you do not get the east wind. And it's at least possible that somebody could get down near 32. And then we have the next rain chance coming in Thursday night and Friday morning. It is birthday time. All right, we only have one today, which makes it your list, Bryson. And look at that form. He's a pitcher. He's getting ready to fire that ball. That's a great shot. I could never look that good. 12 years old. Happy birthday to you. Birthday's at KGW.com. We'll celebrate with you. Here's Chris.
Rod, thank you for that. I take you to the east side of Vancouver, and I apologize here. I lost the camera, but there was a substantial backup because of a crash on 205 northbound near Patton Parkway. The lineup is about a mile and a half back towards SR 500. So plan some extra time there. Also, some new trouble on the west side. This is a look at Highway 26 westbound. Looks like we got an injury crash coming just up the hill from the tunnel. Right now, police and emergency responders have the left and the left center lane blocked. And so, as you can imagine, traffic is quickly stacking up back into the Vistridge Tunnel. That's our latest big trouble spot as that continues to wind up traffic coming off the southbound Fremont Bridge. So give yourself a few extra minutes to get around that.
All right, thank you, Chris. Quick reminder, the KGW Great Toy Drive is coming soon. Now is the time to sign up to help us collect. All you have to do is go to kgw.com/toy, and when you sign up, we will send you the official Great Toy Drive collection kit. What's up?
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
Here's a quick recap of some of this morning's top local stories. Oregon and Washington joining several states and the state of Illinois as Illinois continues its legal battle to stop the National Guard's deployment to Chicago. So Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield and Washington Attorney General Nick Brown, along with nearly 24 other AGs around the country, filed a brief in the 7th Court of Appeals arguing that the deployment of the National Guard to Chicago is simply against the law. College football news over the weekend. Oregon State firing head coach Trent Bray less than 24 hours after the Beavs' latest loss. They're 0-7, their worst start to a season since 1991. Assistant coach Rob Akey will serve as interim coach for the rest of the year. And the Broadway Bridge in downtown Portland is closed this morning, and it's going to stay closed for the next 6 months. Crews are replacing the bridge's decking. Portland streetcar service also getting rerouted. but the south sidewalk of the bridge will stay open for pedestrians and cyclists.
7 days, still some rain down around Salem. That's dropping to your south. Everybody in the valley and the coast becomes dry during the morning. Portland's rain chances ended. It'll be a sunny but gusty east wind afternoon, about 61. Don't forget, cold nights coming both tonight and into Wednesday morning.
Rod, our latest trouble spot is here on the Sunset westbound. You got a crash and a couple of emergency responders there on the scene. Maybe some injuries with this one, guys. The left center and the left lane are blocked, and as you can imagine, that's stacking up traffic westbound through the tunnel and onto I-405. Also, a reminder, if you ride TriMet to the airport, the Max Red Line is disrupted all this week. They're going to be running shuttle buses from Gateway to PDX to make that connection as they do track work on the east side. So that will likely add several minutes to your commute to the airport if you use TriMet.
All right, one last story to get to. She is not done yet. Taylor Swift is turning her record-breaking Eras tour into a 6-part docuseries.
Of course she is.
And a brand new concert film. So this series called The End of an Era hits Disney Plus December 12th, followed by the final show filmed at her tour finale in Vancouver, Canada. The docuseries promises a behind-the-scenes look at Taylor's life on the road with cameos from friends and family and tour mates like Gracie Abrams and Sabrina Carpenter.
The wild part is, I think each part of that 6-part docuseries is 19 hours long.
That's crazy.
No,
you get credit for the minute of streaming.
And by the way,
she knows her business.
She wanted to come to Vancouver, USA, but we were busy, and she's going to Vancouver, Canada instead.
I don't think that's how that happened.
Suddenly we're ending the show with a bunch of falsehoods. We'll come back tomorrow with straight facts, my friends. I promise you that. Thanks for watching us today here on KGW Plus. The Tuesday edition of the Sunrise Show comes your way in less than 24 hours.